Okay everybody, I'm back. It's been a little while since I posted a video, but today's video I think is quite a good topic, and it's something that's been on my mind and is actually regularly on my mind. I think I've always had this, partly because my father used to talk to me of regrets, and he used to talk about how time goes fast, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. But actually, ever since I became a father, time has went really, really fast. Now, I've done a lot of things in my life. I've been living and working abroad for almost 20 years. I'm 42 years old now. I'm married and I'm a father of two. But I often think to myself, what if my future self could look back on me right now? Is there anything that I would change? And that's the topic of today's video. Imagine your future self is looking back at you right now, exactly where you are today in this life. Would you change anything? I guess age is not really that important. It's your health. It's how you feel, both physically and mentally. Now imagine you're old, stuck in your room at home, all by yourself, and you're reflecting. All you have in your hands is time. It's not endless, because we can't stop time. But in those lonely, quiet moments, especially if you're on your own, you have memories, okay? You have whispers. You probably have voices up here. And one thing that you may have, and I hope you don't, is a lot of regret. Now, like I mentioned before, my father used to always talk to me about the regrets that he had, the things that he wished he'd done differently. And obviously, my father wasn't perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. But I tried to take that example of my father, set it into myself, and try and do things a little bit different to what he did, the regrets that he had. Try to make sure that I don't have those, because it must be really difficult if you're, let's say you're 75 on your own in your room, and you're just constantly thinking of the things that you should have done or the things that you would have done differently, but you can't change it because it's too late. Let's say, for example, you didn't spend enough time with your kids, right? Let's say you've got kids. Let's say you didn't pick up the phone enough. You didn't really care or think of the consequences. Maybe you were selfish. Maybe you were stubborn. Let's say you were stuck in a rut and you were living the same day over and over again, just like Groundhog Day. One thing is for sure, folks, when you get old, that job is not something you're going to regret. That promotion that you missed is not something that you're going to regret. Having a lot more money than you currently have is probably something you're not going to regret, because you can't take it with you. The only thing you can do is leave it for your family. But the one thing you will regret is those memories, is those whispers in your head. Because as time goes by, they're going to get louder and louder and louder, until it's all you hear. I'm a university professor here in South Korea, and part of my job is not only to teach English, but deal with kind of stress-related stuff. And a lot of South Korean students have a lot of stress going on in their life. And I try and be that person that's there to kind of listen to them, give them some advice. And one of the key pieces of advice that I give them is exactly the topic of this video. Imagine your future self looking back. What would you do different? Try to wake up every single day with that in your mind. You know, I try and hug my children as much as I can. Tell them I love them, right? I put that phone down and play a board game with them. I look into their eyes when I'm talking to them. I listen to them when they speak. All of these things are pretty important, but they're actually pretty small in your day-to-day activities. But these are just little things that you can do to change the path of your life. Because no one's life path is set in stone, folks. I don't believe entirely in destiny. I believe we can make our own way. It just depends on how you view each day. I try not to wake up and go, oh my goodness, it's Monday, it's going to be a terrible day. No. Why should it be a terrible day? The day is whatever you make it. Something that I've learned in my 42 years in this world is, no matter how hard you try, you cannot change someone else. You cannot do it unless they want to change. The only person that you can really change is yourself. And that's what I try and work on. I want to take you back a little bit in my life. 2020. COVID. At that point in my life, my father was on his own, okay? And he moved into a single person housing. And my father was left alone pretty much all of the time. And I decided, obviously living abroad, every single week I would make a point to call my dad on a Sunday. And every single Sunday, without fail, folks, I called my father for the next 4 years. Now, that weekly conversation at the start was more for him. I was doing it so that he would have company and he would have something, to kind of look forward to as well. I visited home as well, right? I went home. I tried to go home most years, and I spent a lot of time with my father as well when I went home. But that weekly phone call quickly went from me calling my dad to benefit him to something that I actually needed to do. It's something that helped me. It's something that I actually started to look forward to, and it brought me and my father closer and closer together. That is one of the best decisions that I made. Sadly, last year my father passed away unexpectedly at the age of 74. And no matter what I do in this life, I cannot have another phone call with him, right? I cannot hear his voice. I cannot check in with him. And when you lose that, that's when you start thinking to yourself, is there something that I could have done more? The answer to that for me is no. I did what I did based on looking at my future self. I didn't want to have any regrets if my father passed away. I didn't want to create a distance between me and my father. I wanted to throw away all the things that happened in the past. And that's another thing in your life, folks. Forgive. Try to forgive, especially when it's family. And another thing is, by the way, it doesn't matter if you forgive. They have to forgive too. And it takes two to forgive. But as long as you are, open to forgiveness and moving on, then that's all you can ask for. Then there's no regrets when something happens. Now, at the age of 23, I left the UK. I graduated, left the UK, and I've never looked back, folks. I don't have any regret in my life as far as what I've done, the decisions I've made, because it's led me here with my wife and my 2 children. And for me, that's everything. Family is everything to me. Now, have I made mistakes in my life? You better believe I've made mistakes in my life. Costly mistakes as well, folks. But I like to think that I've learned from it. So if you ask me, Paul, would you go back in time and change that? As hard as it is to say, no, I wouldn't change it, because every single thing that I've done now, I like to think I've learned from it, which means I'm not going to repeat those mistakes. And that's part of life. That's part of growing up. That's part of maturing. It's part of looking in the mirror and knowing exactly who you are and being able to look at yourself in the mirror too without regret. So don't stay on that path. If that path is not fulfilling for you, veer off it. Okay? You can do that. You have the power to do it. And if you need motivation, if you need inspiration, think about yourself when you're old. Maybe you're lonely, you're stuck in that house yourself, and you're thinking back. This is the time. You're not going to have that chance later in life. And as far as I'm aware, everybody, we're only here one time in this world. So why not try to make the most of it? What's the worst thing that can happen if you take a chance? You fail? Yeah? Well, get back on the horse and go again. Right? The good thing about failing is you're going to learn and you're not going to repeat that in the future. But if you don't try it, that's your life. Just stays the same every single day. So, right now you have time. Don't try to change everything in your life. Change only the things that truly matter to you. Think about tiny choices, big life. Okay, life for me is everything. I'm not going to live the perfect life. It's not possible to do that. But what I'm going to try to do is live a life where I'm at the age of 70, 75, 80, if I reach that, if I'm lucky enough to reach that. And I'm not looking back every single day of the things that I wish I'd done. I want to do it now. I want to set the right example for my kids. I want to be the grandpa if they have kids themselves. I want to be the grandpa that's there, that's involved in their life. I want to be a good person that doesn't, let selfish thoughts or selfish ways take over the way I interact with my family members and pushes me away. I don't want that to happen. So I guess the key here is live with intention now instead of regret later. Imagine you're 75, 80 years old. What would you give at that point to return to the way you are right now? You would give everything, right? I'm pretty sure, but you can't do it. It's not possible. When you're that age, that's it. You're only going to get older and you can't ever come back to where you are today. So that's the way you need to think mentally every day when you wake up. Because right now you have the freedom, you have the choices, you have the power to change everything in front of you. It's your life. Yeah, your life. Same as it's my life. So don't let anyone else control your life. Be your own person, but try and be the best person that you can be so that those regrets don't exist in the future. Make it count. Hug someone. Call someone. Make a change in your life. Because one day in the future, this life that you're rushing through right now will be the thing that you miss most. Thanks for joining me today. Leave a comment below how you live in your life. What are things that you would change if you could look back from your future self to today? What would you change about your life? And are you going to change it now? Have a great day, folks, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.